A Halifax woman says a letter she received from Nova Scotia's Vital Statistics Department is outrageous and outdated because it requires the unmarried mother to confirm the identity of her newborn's father. Susan Leblanc is NDP MLA for Dartmouth North, and she's been calling for the Vital Statistics Act to be updated. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
First of all, what do you make of this case?
I mean, it's a shame that a couple who's just brought a beautiful little baby into the world has to deal with this extra administrative burden, but also to have to deal with the feeling of somehow their situation is shameful or not as legitimate as if they were a married couple.
So would you go as far as some others have to call this discriminatory?
Yeah, I would. I think that we see in our society, in our communities, a myriad amount of ways to have a family, to be a family, and it doesn't, to define a family, and which is this act is basically doing, as a mother and a father who are married and children, is really short-sighted and limiting, and we know that families look very different than that in many cases.
So what is it about the form? Just kind of walk us through it for people. You know, the child is born, the form is presented. What's there, what's not there?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to go back to my own. The last time I registered a baby was 5 years ago, and I registered him at the kiosk at the hospital, and I am also not married to my partner, and I don't remember having to answer questions or have him, sign an affidavit or anything saying that he was the father of the child. But my understanding is this is what Ms. Howell did, and then following that, she received a letter in the mail that said, if you don't get this, if you don't, get a notarized form signed, proving that, or not proving, but signing an affidavit saying that you are the father, then the father's name would be removed from the birth certificate.
Yeah. So a special step needs to be taken in this case, a special declaration being made.
Yeah.
Are you receiving, or have there been a lot of complaints about this?
Not this particular thing, but we were already paying attention to the act and how outdated it is, and so we had already tabled amendments, a new bill with amendments to the Vital Statistics Act, addressing this issue. So basically, calling for all births to be registered in the same way, no matter who the parents are. We also, in our act, wanted to take out all the gender language, so removing mother and father as the definition of parents, and just replacing it with parents, because we know that sometimes there's not a mother and a father, sometimes it's two mothers or two fathers, or people who don't even identify on the gender binary. And so, our bill would address that. We also want to address the definition of a legitimate child. This is something that I find really kind of an emotional idea, that a child who is born into a family where the parents aren't married is actually defined as illegitimate. And when we think about that word, it brings about, about just a horrible context or horrible ideas, right? It's very archaic, it's very outdated and old-fashioned, and it's offensive.
I read through the act, and there's many references to married woman throughout the act. Do we know why? I mean, this act hasn't been touched in a while. We know it's being reviewed.
Yeah.
What are you looking for here? What do you think the eventual outcome here will be, or should be, as a result of a review?
Well, I think we don't need to have a mother defined as a married woman. First of all, a person who gives birth may not even identify as a woman, but also, it shouldn't matter if someone is married or not under the law. We have laws in place that, common law, situations that are acknowledged in all other aspects of our society, and so we don't need to define the principal parent as a married woman. I think we just need to see parent and parent, or just parent, for instance, because there also could be someone who chooses to bring a baby into the world without a partner, and that happens all the time.
All right. Well, we shall see where this review goes. Thank you very much for coming and talking about it.
Thank you.